Welcome to Stupid Christian Comments. This video series presents some of the amazingly stupid comments by Christian YouTubers on my channel's debates and videos. Here are this week's top 5 picks. This week's comments are presented to you by Cold Trojan. Check out his channel here and make sure to subscribe. Making another appearance on this video series, we have McChulo, who said,
Jesus says he was God in the flesh, the great I am. He was either telling the truth or lying. Remember, lying is a sin. Jesus never sinned. Only a sinless man could pay for your sin to save you from hell and give you a way into heaven. Those are your two options. Your eternal destiny is defined by how you answer that question and how you deal with Jesus' claims. I'd say in the light of shortness of this life, there is nothing more important than to find out what is true.
He says he was God in the flesh? So what? Any nutcase can make any claim they want. What I want to see is proof that what he said is actually true. And that's even besides the point. How do you know he actually uttered those words? All you have is a collection of writings compiled into a book called the Bible, written by mostly anonymous writers who all wrote after the death of Jesus, decades later, in a time of great superstition and mysticism, no mandatory education, and incredibly low literacy. I'm supposed to believe that the Bible is an accurate record of the life and times of Jesus based upon what? First, you need to demonstrate that the Bible is a trustworthy book of historical information. Then you need to confirm who wrote the passages regarding the specifics of Jesus and confirm how they came to the information they presented. If you can do all of this, at the end of the day, all you have is that a guy named Jesus 2 millennia ago claimed to be God in the flesh. You are still a world away from confirming that he actually was telling the truth. There are people even today claiming to be Jesus reborn. There is a guy in the deep forests of Russia with his own closed community. There is another Jesus in New Zealand who has a following of believers. There is even this guy who claims to be Jesus in the flesh. This is by no means an exhaustive list of all the nutbars who make claims to be the second coming of the Christian Savior. If you don't believe any of these guys are Jesus today, why would you believe the writings of a 2,000-year-old book that cannot be corroborated? Sounds pretty naive to me. You claim that Jesus was either lying or telling the truth. However, that's not all the options on the table. He could have believed he was God in the flesh while not actually being God in the flesh. The history of humanity is full of people who were religious delusional fanatics. The other option, and the most probable, is that his words are legend and are attributed to him but not actually from him. Humans have a propensity to exaggerate and embellish stories over time. In all likelihood, if a man named Jesus actually existed, little to nothing of his life and spoken word exists today. Only a sinless man could pay for my sins to save me from hell and give me a way into heaven? Firstly, says who? Show me the evidence of this baseless assertion. Secondly, why would it take a sinless man to pay for my sins? Why am I not accountable for my own misdeeds? Why would someone else need to be punished to save me from punishment? Thirdly, provide evidence that places like hell and heaven exist. Stop stating things as fact, things you could not possibly know as fact. If you want me to believe as you do, start laying out the extraordinary evidence to substantiate the extraordinary claims. Next we have Oh Really Now 100, who said,
So nothing accidentally made a man with a penis and a woman with a vagina that by accident fits and produce more humans. This accident also accidentally made food and water for us, which without we would all die. It then accidentally made a digestive system so we would be able to rid ourselves of food and water and not explode. It then accidentally made a man named Jesus that was even predicted by Neanderthals, who had eyewitnesses who seen him die on a cross and rise from the dead. This man Jesus accidentally predicted everything happening now. He told the Jews when he was here they would be scattered all over the earth because of their unbelief, until the fullness of the Gentiles accept Jesus. He said in the last days the Jews would be brought back to Israel and become a nation again. This happened in 1948. He also said Europe would unite. They have. China would have the world's largest man army. They do. Earthquakes would increase. They have. The Arabic nations would hate the Jews and try to destroy Israel. They have. He said none would be able to. They haven't. Said that there would be a worldwide economic collapse, mixed with perplexity and unrest of nations, which is happening, and which will issue in a new world order. which is exactly what they are working on now. The easiest way to know if God is real is to ask Jesus personally, "If you're really the Son of God, come in my heart and be my Lord and Savior." Be sincere, see what happens, and then see what you find.
I can't believe the stupid that comes out of some people. Evolution is a natural process by which adaptation to the environment gives survival advantage to the next generation of living organisms. The human genitalia work together because our ancient descendants had functioning genitalia that created offspring and they evolved into what we are now. We live in a closed environment, known otherwise as the Earth, and since we evolved to survive, we evolved to be able to digest other parts of our environment, and we call those things food. Our digestive system is the end result of billions of years of evolution by which our bodies have been able to absorb the nutrients it needs to remain fertile and survive. A man named Jesus may have lived 2,000 years ago, but we can't be sure of that, and we definitely do not have evidence for any of his supernatural claims. The only thing we inherited from the Neanderthals is their bones and stone tools. They did not pass down any information or prophetic messages, and so we have no way of knowing what they may have believed. To say otherwise is to be dishonest and to fabricate stories without grounding in reality. In regards to eyewitnesses to the death and resurrection of Jesus, all we have is an ancient book with conflicting accounts, written by anonymous writers who were not present. We have no eyewitness accounts and no way to corroborate their testimony. Nowhere in the Bible does it predict anything happening now, and if the last days started in 1948 with the creation of Israel, how long must we wait? It's been 66 years. This rambling commenter goes on to claim that the Bible mentions Europe and China. What is a sane person supposed to say to that? He then dives into some New World Order conspiracy crap and claims that if you want to know God, just start talking to yourself. So in order to know God, you have to believe in Him enough and He will magically appear. Then I'm sure I'll see Him everywhere, right? That's a great rational evidence-based approach to determining the validity of a claim. Rely on confirmation bias for all your inquiries. Must be nice to live in blissful ignorance. Asdif Hasdif is up next with this comment.
Science meets evolution and says, "Hello? Who are you? Have we met?" Evolution is not a science. It's a science wannabe. Evolutionists are liars. They have no evidence, so they have to make it up. Invent. Dinosaur bird link smashed in fossil flap USA Today. Also, Archaeoraptor 1999 was faked. Atheists like to use whatever they can find, and if it doesn't fit their theory, they modify it. How about Hiko embryo drawings that he faked and was trialed at his own Gina University in 1875? Those drawings are still in textbooks today.
Not to be outdone by our previous commenter, Astiv Hastiv continues the time-honored religious tradition of making ridiculous baseless assertions we are to accept on faith, since no evidence is provided. We are to accept that evolution is not a science, and rather a science wannabe. I'm sure the thousands of scientists and professors worldwide would greatly appreciate being informed that this body of accumulated and confirmed knowledge is not actually true. Oh, how many lives wasted, how much money gone down the toilet. I had to go and do a little bit of digging regarding Asdif Hasdif's mention of US Today, January 25, 2000 edition, and found an article regarding a dinosaur fossil found in China, reported by National Geographic, that supposedly had feathers but was later found to be either an honest mistake or forgery. I could not find any decisive evidence to suggest that the fossil remains were an intentional forgery perpetrated by the Chinese archaeologists. I think it's an unfair and rash conclusion given how little we know about the motivations of the people involved, to claim that they were being intentionally deceitful. Even if it could be proved without a doubt that in this isolated case an archaeologist knowingly faked evidence, how would this in any way lead you to dismiss the whole field of study? Scientific claims are testable, and there is no better way to make a name for yourself, as a scientist, than to disprove a widely held scientific hypothesis. Science has checks and balances, and it is for that reason we discovered that in this particular instance the claim of a fossilized feathered dinosaur was deemed false. If this had been a religious type discovery, there would be people who, no matter the evidence to the contrary, would still believe in a provable falsehood. Digging up an account of a German biologist by the name of Ernst Haeckel, who exaggerated the similarities of early embryos of different species from 1875, is a bit far-reaching. Those drawings are used as teaching aids as they are on a fundamental level correct. So we are to draw the conclusion that evolution is false based upon an account of exaggeration from the late 19th century and a mistake in discovering the late 20th century? How about the overwhelming evidence from DNA genetic sequencing? How about the evidence from the fossils we have found, while incomplete, still provide important insight? What about the field of biogeography, which studies the distribution of species and ecosystem in geographic space and through geological time? There are multiple lines of evidence for the theory of evolution, and to dismiss this massive body of knowledge over such relatively trivial counterarguments is to hint at a personal commitment to create a model of reality that suits your religious presuppositions. Next we have Laser Cannon 7, who said,
"What is it with atheists that use so much time and effort trying to debunk something that they feel doesn't exist? If you feel that God doesn't exist, then something you feel isn't real should not affect you in any way."
I would fully agree with you if religious people kept their beliefs to themselves and did not try and codify into law their unsupported claims. However, we live in the real world, and a 2,000-year-old morality and worldview is trying to make a comeback. Religious people are rarely content on keeping their thoughts and feelings to themselves. All over the world, issues of abortion, gay rights, and church-state separation are front-page news. Theists want their beliefs to be forced upon everyone, to the detriment of everyone. Religions make unfalsifiable claims that entice fanaticism that directly influence the lives of others. That's why I devote a lot of my spare time combating the irrational beliefs of theists who may otherwise one day drag us back into the Dark Ages. Don't try to save my soul. Don't restrict the freedoms of women over their own bodies. Don't try and teach my children lies about how the universe began. And don't punish me for thinking differently and rationally. The only way we protect ourselves from a world in which the religious set all the rules is by ensuring that those brave enough to push away the fairy tales of childhood have the education to make informed decisions. I don't believe in a God because there is insufficient proof to justify a belief. I don't believe in the authority of the Bible or any other religious text because there is insufficient proof to justify a belief. Do us all a favor. Keep your beliefs to yourself, and we can then spend our precious time working on other noble projects. And our last comment of this week is from Juvenal Pereira, who said,
"It's not hard to explain why there is suffering. Not at all. God didn't create suffering world. He created a perfect world with a perfect man, perfect animals, perfect women, everything perfect. Sin ruined it, and all his works up to here is to rescue us from the sin. But there is humans that just likes and love to sin, don't want to be rescued. They know the devil lied, the Bible said it, but yet they choose the devil because they are comfortable and don't want to go through the process God said for salvation. So they are going with Satan to hell because that's just the price of sin. Any question?"
Who would have guessed it? Another religious person making grand claims about things he could not possibly know. For the sake of argument, let's say I accept your assertion that God exists and he created the universe. 1. If God created a perfect world and a perfect man, how would it be possible for such a being to sin? Would not a perfect human not be able to sin? Because anything less than good thoughts and actions would be imperfect. If I design a perfect engine and craft it with godly precision and supply it with only the most pure fuels, would it not run flawlessly? If it failed to work as designed, would that not suggest that either the design was flawed, or my godly skills of craftsmanship were something less than perfect, or that the fuels were not of sufficient purity? So much for your perfect God claim. 2. Let's say I suspend my intellect and just accept that sin did in fact ruin the perfect world that God has made. Why did God create a universe in which sin is a possibility? He supposedly created all the rules of life, so why did he create it knowing in advance that it would happen? 3. Alright, so let's just accept all of this on blind faith. If, as you say, there are people who knowingly reject God and align themselves with the devil, what motivation would there be to do this? If I know I have two options, option A, live a short life of very strict boundaries that once complete will land me a life of eternal happiness, or B, live a short life of sinful behavior and be sent to suffer for eternity in the depths of hell. Why would anyone choose B? What possible earthly pleasures could convince anyone to suffer for eternity? The reality is much more simple. We have zero evidence of a God, and we definitely know that humans are not perfect, and our imperfections lead us to violence and irrational beliefs. We don't choose evil over good because of some perceived love of sin. Religions were developed as a means to control people. Hang a carrot of eternal happiness in front of their face. Scar children with thoughts of hell if they misbehave or question. It's time to grow up, people. It's time to put childish thoughts away and conduct yourself as rational, thoughtful adults. There you have it. 5 stupid comments from 5 different YouTubers. Which comment would you vote to win the Dumbass of the Week award? Would it be 1. McChulu, who thinks that Jesus was either lying or telling the truth about his true nature? 2. Oh Really Now 100, who makes so many outlandish claims that it would be impossible to summarize in a single sentence? 3. Astif Hasdif, who dismisses evolution based upon the exaggerations of one biologist 139 years ago and a mistaken identity in the late 90s. 4. Laser Cannon 7, who thinks that atheists shouldn't be devoting time and energy debunking religious claims they don't believe. Or 5. Juvenal Pereira, who thinks that a perfect God created a perfect world and human beings that somehow got screwed up when the first man made a disapproving choice. To vote, leave your choice in the comment section below. Choose only one winner. Results will be available on my Facebook page and Google Plus page 1 week from today on Friday, January 31st. Check back to see who won. If you enjoyed this video, remember to press the like button and share with everyone. If you would like to submit a video or audio reading of an upcoming stupid comment, send me an email to TheVeganAtheist@hotmail.com. Thanks for watching. Want to see more? Click subscribe and keep an eye out for the next stupid comments video coming out next Friday. Follow me on my Facebook, Twitter, and Google Plus pages. Links are in the description. Lastly, head over to my channel and check out all the debates, presentations, and videos.